Welcome to the Leaders in Payments podcast, where we talk to C-level leaders from across the payments landscape. We'll be discussing the products and services that impact the payment space today, as well as trends and predictions for the future of payments. We will also hear stories from our guests about their journeys to the top.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Leaders in Payments podcast. I'm your host, Greg Myers, and on today's episode, we have a very special guest, Jacob Olins, the VP of Fintech at Workwave. So, Jacob, welcome to the show.
Hey, Greg, it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, why don't we start out by having you talk a little bit about yourself, maybe where you grew up, where you went to school, where you currently live, a few things like that.
Yeah, would love to. Thanks so much for having me on the podcast. Wonderful podcast. And I even saw one of my former colleagues, Joe Mock, you interviewed recently.
Yeah,
so that was really cool to see. I've been I grew up in Brookline, Massachusetts. Went to university in New York. Moved to New York City, after college, like a lot of people do, and sort of lucked into a payments innovation role at Citibank, having absolutely no idea what the payments industry was at that time, but it was super cool and just absolutely set me on a path to be in fintech and kind of everything that fintech has become over the past 15 or so years. That was like Citibank's reaction to PayPal and eBay merging, and a lot of institutional clients being like, hey, what is that all about? And how do we do something similar to that? Really high level, big picture strategy. What's going on? What does the new world of the internet mean for payments and payments technology? Gave me a bug about payments, gave me a bug about, product management. And so set me on a path. I spent a few years after Citibank at Verifone, a big payment terminal manufacturer. Then I spent a few years at JP Morgan Chase, also doing fintech and payments innovation, more on the accounts payable side. And kind of the common thread throughout this was just seeing more and more examples of payments getting deeper and more embedded into business applications, and so that I seeing that, kind of loving some of the examples of those use cases. I worked my way over to a company called EPOS Now, which is a point of sale company, to help launch their foray into payments and ultimately a whole suite of embedded financial services. And now I'm at Workwave, and we are a leader in field service management software. We're really like the operating system for businesses that specialize in lawn and landscape, pest control, security, janitorial, and so scaling out our payment services and looking to all sorts of other opportunities where we can add value to our clients through fintech offerings.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little more about Workwave. So tell our audience a little more. Obviously, you kind of gave the 50,000 foot level, but maybe a little more detail around the company, maybe, the size, the different products and services, different audiences, a few things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Workwave is, we're about 1,000 people in our company. We're primarily focused on North America, but we do have a presence in EMEA and Australia as well. And our bread and butter is building software that helps field service businesses. And I get the real common thread is does your business run a fleet of service professionals, technicians that go into the field, either to commercial properties or residential properties, and perform service there? And so the industry verticals that we are really the market leaders in: pest control, lawn care and landscape, cleaning, janitorial, commercial janitorial, and security. And in every one of these cases, there's a truck or a fleet that's bringing technicians out to a place to perform a service, and that might be mowing a lawn, it might be performing a termite prevention. It might be, security guarding a stadium for a big concert or an event. It might be, the nightly cleaning operation that's happening at a big office building. And so the biggest customers in these areas use our software, but we really scale from very small businesses to the largest companies in these industries. I say we're not super focused on like the micro merchants, the brand new businesses. That's not really our bread and butter. But once you get to, an established small business, and maybe you're doing $500,000 in revenue a year, that's when customers really start looking for a more sophisticated offering, and that's when we, really, those are really our target customers, and the customers who find the most value with all of the services that we can offer them.
Okay. Okay. And then those services, obviously, they use it for scheduling, for communication. I mean, what are all the kind of, I always describe vertical SaaS as kind of the operating system for the small business, right? So maybe just discuss real quick some of the services that you provide other than payments, obviously, because we're going to dive into that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's, it like the spectrum of the business, we probably provide a service. In many of the cases, we're the owner of that, but in a lot of cases we partner, and because we're the operating system, as you mentioned, like we're that primary control point and real estate, and so we can help distribute all sorts of things. But like, it starts with customer acquisition. We provide marketing tools that help our customers source new clients, and then we provide CRM so that our clients can keep track of the closed won, closed lost, and then manage those customer relationships. And then there's a big aspect of dispatching, right? So you're routing these trucks in the very most efficient way so that, our client can hit the most houses and have the most routes, and therefore run the most efficient business that they can. And then their technicians are using our mobile app. And so that'll tell them exactly like what services they need to provide. Maybe there's certain chemicals on one lawn, and then a mowing treatment on another lawn. Maybe it's a routine pest checkup in a certain place, but it's a termite prevention or a rodent exclusion in another place. And so all that instructions that the technician gets is all in that mobile app. We provide a lot of these industries are regulated, so we provide a lot of the compliance requirements to make sure that to give the consumer comfort. Yep, you're getting a chemical treatment, but this provider is completely licensed, and here are the disclosures and whatnot. And then all of the invoicing is happening through our platform. And so I think in a lot of ways we're also have been responsible for some of the transformation of these industries. Historically, you look 10 years ago, a lot of these industries were one service at a time, right? You're calling because you got a problem. You're getting treatment for that problem, kind of like how you use a plumber or an electrician today. And we've been able to help a lot of these businesses evolve into recurring service businesses. And a lot of our customers attribute that to like the payments capabilities. Taking that CRM, enabling the card on file, enabling the auto pay capability, powering that auto pay capability with like account updater so that they don't have to chase customers whose payment methods go expire and whatnot. And then in some of these verticals we provide accounting services, and some of these verticals we provide payroll services, and the payroll services extend into like how can we help our customers with employee retention. So we'll go into like earned wage access. If it's a big, mobile workforce that's primarily hourly, and a lot of times, waiting 2 weeks for your paycheck can put these individuals in difficult situations. We try to do things that drive our customers' employee retention, and then just make it easier for those employees to live their lives in a financially responsible way. And then, in some of these verticals, we're the accounting system, the ERP. And so there's, expense management, and we've started to launch some bill payment capabilities as well in our fintech suite.
Okay. Well, let's talk about embedded payments for a minute. Maybe describe how it's embedded, and maybe, how it got to this point. Did you start as kind of the ISO of the world? You're now a PayFac. So maybe talk about that journey a little. And then also, how do your customers use the payment solution?
Totally. Yeah. I think it is like a very common story, how vertical SaaS platforms like us moved to, and today we're a PayFac. So we, fully own the risk, the compliance, the product, the onboarding, the selling, but I wasn't always like that, in the early days, and it was, predates my time at Workwave, certainly. But yeah, we started as a reseller. So we had, we were early on the integrated payments offering, and then as a reseller, we were reselling, referring our customers to payments providers, and those payments providers were setting up a merchant account. And it was useful insofar as you could attach that customer to a card, and you could start to do some of that recurring payments, and there was like a level of integration, but there was also like a lot of dissatisfaction with, hey, why are there so many different suppliers, and why is there inconsistency across the data that I get from you and the data they get from them, and dissatisfaction just with, I get one level of service from my vertical SaaS provider, which is fantastic, but then like payments, which can it's like, it's less critical until it's more critical, right? Like the second that it's that the settlement is late, or that that the authorizations aren't working, like that's when you sort of realize, wow, this is such, I might argue the most critical part of the platform that we offer. So yeah, anyway, it was customer feedback driven that we started to explore owning more of the solution ourselves. And so we moved to that PayFac model pretty early on. I think that was around 2019. And that, turned out to be like a phenomenal strategy for us, a real win. Customers got a better product. It was easier for us to manage. Obviously, it's a good business move for a vertical SaaS platform. And so then, we continued to scale that. We made a couple of acquisitions. We were able to deploy that Workwave payments really as a common service to these new acquisitions that we were bringing in. So that really like helped make those acquisitions more accretive to our business. And it just continues to be like a key area for us, and a key part of the platform and the value that we provide to our clients.
Okay. And how do your clients typically use the payment solution?
So our clients will sign up for our software, and our payments product it comes, included in the software. And so, most of our clients, because they're more established, like they understand, credit card processing is critical. Obviously, like the things that we're helping in our overall sales process, the things that we want to make really clear to our customers is like, you're trying to run a business that is as much as possible on subscriptions. So you want to get every one of your clients onto subscriptions, and then you want to like secure those subscriptions with a card on file and with an auto payment. And so it's that combination, right? It's like, yes, it's the CRM. It's the CRM that's adding the card to that account. It's managing that customer account. And then it's like billing that customer account in a way that you don't have to maintain that at all. So that's kind of our sales process. And yeah, that's a really obvious value proposition, right? And that like integrated, I think part of the beauty of it is when you're combining these things, like you're not selling payments, you're just selling business management, and it's part of the broader business management value prop.
Right.
You move further up market, and we certainly have a lot of enterprise clients, and then you have to get into a lot more of the payment specifics. And we support flat rate billing models, and we support interchange plus rate billing models, and and we offer things like network tokenization, and we have to get a lot more sophisticated to support the needs of the larger enterprises who have payments people,
Sure.
Who are part of the buying process.
Do your customers take payments out in the field? Do you have that option?
Yeah, we do. It's not a large percentage. Most of it is like the card on file subscription, but absolutely. And I'd kind of break down in our customer base, like the oversimplified way to think about one of these field services businesses. They're probably doing like 50% of their business, 50 or 60% of their business is like a residential subscription. And then, 20, 25% of their business is a commercial subscription. And then there's 20 to 25% of their business that is like a one-off service, a large ticket item. And so, certainly for those large ticket items, we're doing some payment acceptance in the field.
Okay.
And so, we've got a device, a physical device. But one of our big initiatives this year we're excited about is moving that to a tap to pay, because these technicians are already on our mobile app. And so we've got tap to pay on our roadmap, and we'll be rolling that out.
Nice.
And yeah. Yeah. The other thing you see in the field, like in these remote settings, is, if you've got a Bluetooth device, it's an extra device. You got, connectivity issues. And so just the convenience of tap to pay, some store and forward technology, like it'll probably increase the amount of, percentage of card present transactions that we're doing.
Right. Okay. Well, moving beyond payments and under the fintech umbrella, what other financial services products do you offer?
It's been a big part of my strategy since joining Workwave, is just to extend further and further into financial services. And we've got like so many great opportunities just where we are in that ecosystem as that operating system. So one of our most exciting opportunities is consumer financing. And so I was talking about that, that 20%, 20 to 25% of these businesses that's one off. Well, a lot of those big ticket jobs are they're big ticket jobs. So they're, not always affordable with like what an individual's got in the bank. But like in the vast majority of these cases, it's a critical service. You got like a tree trimming need, bed bug need, right? Something like that. So financing those consumers is one of our big initiatives this year. And we've got a great partnership with a company called WiseTac that's been, really, really appreciated by our customer base. We do a merchant cash advance product. So it's a capital lending product. We do that with a company called Ulend. They're a fantastic partner. Our base is more up market, and those products are I'll just share, like I had a previous company was a point of sale company, and we were really focused on the micro SMBs, and capital in that market that's super, super underbanked was like one of the highest attachment new products that we launched. And our market's just a little bit different. I think you always got to think about, like, with the financial products that you want to extend into, payments is kind of like the most horizontal. And then depending on the types of, lending needs or banking needs that your customers have, what they're already getting from banks, what that ecosystem looks like, your strategy might go one way or another. To elaborate on that, we've got in our security and janitorial industries, we're a full ERP and we're a payroll provider, and so earned wage access is our biggest fintech opportunity in that space. And so we've had some real exciting early success in earned wage access, like seeing employee retention increased by like north of 30% for our customers who are on it. And so just building deeper and deeper embedded capabilities, like so employees can see that earned wage access opportunity. Like, again, they're on our mobile application, right? So they can see it as they clock out. That's like a super powerful way to drive that attachment and to drive that satisfaction. And then ultimately it's like, that's actually the employee satisfaction with their employer. So it's like a very virtuous cycle. And then bill pay. So power, as that ERP, enabling our customers, not just to like export a notcha file, but to actually like pay their bills using Workwave and Workwave partners. That's a big one for us as well.
Okay. And you mentioned some of these partnerships. Are they white labeled? Do they typically get fully integrated like payments does, or sometimes are they a little more like a referral kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And for me, like the kind of strategy archetype is the payments progression that we've kind of all seen over the past 10 years, right? It's like, you might not know, you might have a lot of theories about like what good opportunities could be even like, it can be overwhelming, right? And in most organizations, probably more and more, we're all like kind of resource constrained. So are you going to invest a lot in building something from the ground up that you're not 100% sure is going to resonate? Meanwhile, there's like this tremendous network of fintech partners out there who have, products and would love to partner with a company that's got great customer distribution. And so, I sort of like mirror at a certain level the payment strategy. Like, hey, let's set up a referral partnership. let's see if that, works. All right. Is there some obvious product market fit? If there is, great. Let's lean into this a little bit more. Let's start to embed this. And we even go so far as to like in our partner strategy, take on the full go to market, right? And so we've got a trying to make it a more sophisticated partner model where we can kind of stand up a referral really lightweight, but also offer to our partners like, hey, this can be virtually a zero cost customer acquisition channel for you. And then, if the economics look good, then we're able to really invest and go to market, really incorporate it into our core sales pitch the same way payments is, right? This is a core part of the product. I think the other beauty of it is like a lot of cases, these are usage-based models. And so you get less sticker shock. So there can be a high degree of like interest and okay, cool. I can use it a little bit. I can see if it works at the customer level, right? I can see if it works for me. And yeah.
Okay. Well, when you kind of step back and look at the payments and fintech industry as a whole, kind of where do you see it headed in the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. I think, I love that question. And, I think it's like so many different things depending on the market. When I paint the perfect future state picture, and I'm gonna like come back a little bit, is like colored by my experience. I spent a lot of years at big banks, doing financial innovation and new products at big banks, and like the problem there was like you got to gather so much context as a bank to provide a tailored fintech solution to a customer, and the beauty of the position that these vertical SaaS platforms like Workwave are in is like we've got all that data, we've got all that context, we've got a really strong pulse on what the real problems are. And so I see more and more financial services getting distributed through vertical SaaS platforms. I think it's a common trend that a lot of us are seeing. But when I was at my previous company focused on micro merchants, it was like, this market is so underserved from a commercial banking perspective. And so we launched a mobile bank account. And like day one, 25% of new customers were attaching to that mobile bank account because like they weren't even really, it was pretty much greenfield. They weren't even really using commercial banks. They were like commingling funds in their personal accounts.
Right.
So you can see that like, hey, maybe this is disruptive to commercial banking. Like maybe, or commercial banks are really just infrastructure and the vertical SaaS platform owns that. I think as you move up market, it becomes a lot more like, can you solve really discrete cash flow problems? And so like one example I love is tax bank accounts, right? Where you say, hey, we're the merchant acquirer, we're the payments processor, and we're integrated in, and we're that integrated into the business management system. And so, we know the sales tax on every invoice that you're sending out. And so we can split settle that sales tax into a special bank account, and then we can file your taxes and pay it for you and indemnify you from any tax like late fees or issues with your tax payments. And I think that concept scales, but you got to pick your spots, right?
Right.
Maybe you'll bank payroll because your customer base is so like ours, workforce management, right? And that is the number one cost. Or maybe you'll bank supply chain because you do e-commerce and it's all it's all in COGS, and I think I think when I think 5 years out, and it's probably more like 10 years out, just a lot more banking and treasury activities are happening in the platform on top of like I think it's the rare case where the platform becomes the bank, but the common case where the platform is using a API banking as a service kind of platform for these specific cash flows.
Right. No, that makes sense. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about you. So maybe you kind of gave us your background from a career perspective, but maybe talk about why Workwave. What was attractive about Workwave and they were doing that you wanted to join the company?
Yeah. I mean, I reached out to the Workwave CEO at the time 2 years ago, and it was because like they posted a great job rec for like what I've kind of found is my niche, which is really establishing these and scaling these and transforming these like payments and fintech businesses within these vertical SaaS environments. So I think you're seeing more and more of that, and you're seeing more and more of these vertical SaaS companies like realize what a major strategic opportunity investing in payments but really beyond payments fintech is. Yeah, I like that. That was what got me interested in Workwave, and then I looked at that job rec, like listened to some of the CEOs podcasts, like read about the company, and said, okay, this company's doing a lot of cool stuff. The like field services is a super interesting industry. It wasn't one that I had a lot of exposure to, but it's definitely like could see the financial services opportunity and could tell like, hey, this is probably a bit more of a lagging industry, and there's probably a lot more opportunities for some disruptive innovation.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, what are some things you're passionate about? Maybe one work-related passion and one personal passion.
All right. The evolving on the work front, like the evolving fintech landscape, and just how financial services is transforming. And I think like there's a roughly like $13 trillion banking industry out there, and 99% of it is flowing through traditional channels. So I think that gets bigger, but also a lot of that goes towards platforms and fintech providers in the coming years, and just tracking that and like trying to stay one step ahead. That's a lot of fun. Personally, I'm married and have 3 young boys, a couple of twins, and a 2-year-old behind them, and so we're getting into skateboarding and skiing and just doing all sorts of fun stuff with them. So yeah, the family and the little, trying to keep up with little kids.
They keep you on your toes, right?
They absolutely do.
Great. So, one last question. If someone came to you and they're interested in building a career in payments or fintech, and they just said, hey, Jacob, like what do I need to do to be successful in this industry? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think for me, what's worked really well is, and where I think that I've got some uniqueness, is exposure to really good exposure to both the banking side and the software side. I think that a lot of people, maybe in similar roles to mine, come from one area or the other. And so, being able to round out that experience, like on the banking side, you really understand the risk management aspect. You really understand like the fundamental COGS. You really understand like what does it cost from a risk management and from just a pure materials perspective to build these businesses, and so what the economics are. And I think if you're all on the software side, you probably like get tripped up when you talk about things like interchange and basis points. And likewise, I think people who are just pure play payments and banking people really miss the importance of the user experience. And so if there's a way that you can round out that, right, that you can really appreciate the value that the product is providing and the importance of the user experience, but you also understand the economics and like banking and payments business models, I think that goes a long way, and I think it's pretty unique.
Okay. Well, obviously, Jacob, we've covered a lot of ground already, obviously, about you and your background and the company and payments overall. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up the show?
This is a wonderful show, Greg. I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Jacob, thank you so much for being on. I know your time is very important, so I don't want to take more of it, but thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Great. And to all you listeners out there, I thank you for your time as well. And until the next story.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Leaders in Payments podcast. Make sure you visit our website at leadersinpayments.com, where you can subscribe to the show and where you'll find our show notes. If you enjoyed listening, please share on your social channels as well.